Podcast of Poseidon is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rhineverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes.
I know that there are Hades' rules, but Hades, I might argue, Hades broke his rules in the first book when he saved Sally Jackson from certain death.
But he didn't bring her back to life. He just pulled her away from a situation that would have killed her.
If he didn't interfere, she would have died.
Didn't he send
And
the
the gods
Minotaur,
aren't supposed
though?
to...
Didn't he send the Minotaur? No.
No, somebody else sent the Minotaur.
Did he know? Who did send the Minotaur?
I don't fucking know.
Minotaur. Fran and her British inflections!
I know, right?
Hey.
Hello, mortals, monsters, and myth lovers alike. You're listening to Podcast of Poseidon, where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture, writing Rick Riordan's, Percy Jackson, and the Olympians. This is Chapter 30, The Hunters of Artemis. I'm your co-host, on loan from the Hunters of Artemis, Darien and Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, hailing from Hotel Valhalla, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? Hotel Valhalla is big. I've gotten lost like a few times now, actually.
I mean, it's big. Have you run into our patron Robert? I think they like to hang out there too.
Few times, but I generally don't leave my room because when I do, I get lost.
That's true. Well, do you want to go another place that's pretty easy to get lost in, but only because there's so much cool stuff?
Our camp store?
Let's go. Hey, DJ, do you know what month it is?
It's February.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
Means it's our birthday.
It's our birthday.
Birthday month, hell yeah.
It's a birthday month. For the record, we don't celebrate our birthday the whole month.
No, most of the time. I mean, like I celebrate my birthday on the day, or like the weekend before or after, depending on when it is, and like scheduling and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, usually I'll do like maybe a birthday weekend if it's on a Saturday. No shame, no shade to folks who do celebrate a birthday month. You gotta
Little
look for
little shame.
You need to look. We need to find reasons to celebrate in this cold world, and birthdays are a good reason to celebrate. But the reason it is our birthday month is because now we co-host a podcast. So that's just, both of us have birthdays in February, so February is birthday month now.
Yes.
That's the way it is. I don't make the rules. It's podcast rules.
That's what we do. I mean, it's what we're gonna do now.
It's what we're going to do right now. And because it's also like, first episode of new month, February, it's time for our monthly Patreon donation.
Yes.
Every month, we donate $1 for every patron we have over on Patreon to some organization that's working to create a net good in the world.
Yep.
And this month, because it's our birthday, DJ and I have each selected a organization that's near and dear to our hearts to donate to. So we'll be donating to 2 groups this month. DJ, tell us about yours.
The organization that I've chosen this month is Extra Life. And for those of you who haven't heard about it, it's a program done by the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And this is a group of 170 hospitals who have all decided to, make change for the kids, And Extra Life itself brings people together and sponsors people so that they can run like fundraisers and donation drives. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is the organization behind like the 24-hour gaming thing in November, right?
Yeah, November 5th.
Yeah, have you done that before?
Most days. I have. I haven't donated because I was a broke high school student, but I've went and I've stayed up for 24 hours and played games. It was a lot of fun.
Raising money, being active. Yeah, that's really cool, DJ.
Yeah, what is yours?
Mine is a local organization called Simply Cats.
It's very you.
Thank you, DJ. Yes, very me. I am a cat person. I love my cat more than anything else in this whole goddamn world. He is my hero. Literally, his name is Hero. He's my baby. Simply Cat. I did not adopt him from Simply Cats.
No, we found him on the street.
No, but he was a stray. Yes, exactly that. But he was. We found him as a stray, as a kitten, and I'm very pro finding cats homes, and that's what Simply Cats does. Simply Cats is Boise's cageless, no-kill feline adoption center. The organization is committed to providing cats with high-quality care and promoting successful adoptions through human-animal bonds. They just do really cool work. I'm just really passionate about.
You like cats.
I just like cats, and I think Simply Cats does a lot of good to help cats and to connect people with cats, because there's a really special bond from finding that cat that is just gonna click with you. And yeah, that's your cat, and Hero is my cat, and I'm his person, and I can't imagine him not being around, and I just like knowing that locally there's an organization that is helping people find their cat, helping cats find their people. When I am sad, I just kind of donate to Simply Cats. So this month,
make yourself feel a little
to
better.
make myself feel better. Yes, it works. So this month, my portion of the Patreon donation is going to go to Simply Cats.
Nice.
So we currently have 7 patrons over on Patreon. So we'll be donating an additional $20 out of pocket, bringing that donation to $27, which is an awkward number to divide between 2 things. And I don't want to donate a bunch of cents.
It's 50 cents.
I don't like it. We're going to increase out of pocket to 23. We're donating $30 each, or for 15 apiece.
Okay.
Those numbers are better for me. Just thank you for supporting me in this. Thank you so much to our patrons for making this donation possible. We also want to take this time to thank everyone who has left a review or a rating on your preferred podcatcher, be it Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening right now. We've got a couple new ratings, and they're really cool to see. Just these stars, because I like stars, gang, so it's really fun to see.
Great. And every review and rating helps, and we'd love to have more reviews to be able to read, you know?
Yeah, we don't have any to read this time. We haven't got any new ones, so if you like the show, if you have fun listening to us, and you want to help us build a community of people who get to enjoy this thing we do, talking about mythology, talking about pop culture, please consider leaving just a brief review, just letting us know what you like about the show. Or, hey, it's our birthday month. Why don't you tell us how you like to celebrate your birthday, what your favorite birthday tradition is? Now, yes, that'll be a wild thing for future listeners to see when scrolling down, but imagine their delight when they finally get to this episode and discover, oh, that's what that birthday thing is about. And then they have all these cool birthday ideas to celebrate on their next birthday. So,
Heck yeah.
leave a review. Tell us what you like about your birthday. And
enjoy the show.
okay, DJ, guess what?
What?
Guess what? No, you have to guess.
I got to guess?
You have to guess.
Is it our guest in front of us?
It is our guest. It's Fran. We are joined by Fran, our very first guest for season 3. She is an author. She's the host of the Best Damn Camp podcast, and she is a YouTuber from the Healthy Dose of Fran. Fran, say hello.
Hi, people of the world.
Say hello. And also, what is your Rhymers affiliation? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
So I am a daughter of Athena who decided to join the Hunters of Artemis. Because
there are layers.
There are layers. So many layers.
I love the layers. So yeah, we are talking the Hunters of Artemis, and I figured the best person to have come on to do it would be a fellow hunter.
Oh yeah, I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm excited.
We've got big feelings.
Big feelings.
And because of that, so usually when we have a guest, I will ask them to tell us about the lore from the books. But since I think you and I are going to have a lot of big feelings through this episode and a lot of stuff to talk about, would you mind if DJ has the floor just to... He thought he was going to have it easy this time.
All right.
DJ, tell us, what would you remember about the Hunters of Artemis from the books?
From the books, it is... from the books, we got like just a bunch of people, bunch of girls run around with Artemis hunting beasts. I would say monsters, but that's not quite right. It's beasts specifically because that is Artemis's realm. They show up and save Percy and all of them from the Manticore. And they cause issues for Percy. Or Percy causes issues to them. It's a give and take for their relationship.
You know, I actually do think that is fair. It is a mutual...
like, it's not just like one person causing issues. I feel like they both fucking screw with each other.
Different goals that are not always aligned.
And this is the only time that I'm like, Grover, you're a little weird here.
Ooh, Grover and the Hunters. I'm not a fan.
No.
This was a very strange one. Definitely one of the few times that I'm like, Grover, sorry, bud, but you need to stop.
Yeah. Actually, Fran, before we got to season 3 and rereading Titans Curse, I was listening to your podcast. I think you listened to you point out Grover creeping on the Hunters. I had not really picked up on how creepy that was when I had read the book in the past. And so when I was rereading it, and I'm like, yeah, Grover, chill out. I get it. They're into nature. I need you to be less into yourself right now.
Yeah.
It was a little strange for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was a choice.
Even me, my weird ass looking at that, I'm like, Grover, you're being creepy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's Hunters of Artemis, a group of girls who have sworn fealty to Artemis and get to hunt stuff. Fran, would you like to expand on some of the details?
Yeah, so we meet them on multiple different occasions throughout the Worldverse. We meet them first in the Titan's Curse, where we're introduced to Zoe Nightshade, a member of the Hunters, the lead lieutenant. During that time, they recruit Bianca D'Angelo, later recruiting Talia Grace. And for Trials of Apollo, spoilers, I guess, for anyone who's listening, they do also recruit Reyna from Heroes of Olympus in the second to last book of Trials of Apollo. Good for her. We love that for her.
Good for her.
Exactly. If
Yeah,
anyone is
truly.
angry, which I know that there are people who were, this isn't about you. This is about Reyna.
Oh my gosh, yes. Not a... Oh, yeah.
It's big reason why Trials of Apollo are my favorite book series that he's written.
Oh, yeah.
Is because like the direction he took a lot of things is way different than the direction he would have taken things 5-10 years ago when he was writing like Percy Jackson Olympians and Heroes of Olympus.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
I think it was just super wonderful.
The only other thing that was introduced for the Hunters that was new in the Trials of Apollo as well was the fact that there was a change of the fact that it's not just turning your back on men, it's turning your back on romantic feelings as a whole, because we meet our first two lesbian hunters who are still friends and still close with Artemis, but left the hunt because they wanted to grow old together because they'd fallen in love with each other, which is Emmy and Joe in The Dark Prophecy.
Love Emmy and Joe.
Love them
love-
so much.
I love them so much.
We love healthy, strong, older queer relationships.
Yes.
Truly.
With
Really
the
love to see it.
child. We love
With the
adopted. We
child.
love adopted and found families. It's amazing.
It's so good. So yeah, the stuff I really like about the Hunters, and because I think we're gonna get to some stuff we don't like about the Hunters
Oh, yeah.
in the series, but I do want to like mention some things I really like, which is one, the fact that the Hunters are not just demigods.
Yes.
Like any maiden gets to join the hunt, be she like a demigod, she's a human, she's a nymph. If they want to join the hunt and swear fealty to Artemis, they're welcome, and I dig that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Percy notes that they're young. They all seem to look like they're between the ages of 10 and 14.
Yeah.
I think Zoe
Which is
Nightshade
a
is the
mood.
oldest at like 16, technically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
She's
because
16?
Talia is.
Or like 16 or 15, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Talia is literally one day from 16,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't say is how that prophecy should work, but that's fine.
Talia turned 16 years old. The prophecy wasn't about her merely because she decided it wasn't. The prophecy
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
say the first one to turn 16. It just said one
No.
who would turn 16.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is it really just like a child of the big three is who turns 16, and so they're like, all right, well, we're just gonna not, and if any pops up, we'll just kill them.
Basically, yeah. And Talia's like, I'm gonna throw my lot in with Artemis, so now I have her protection, and you aren't gonna fuck with me anymore.
We
Yeah.
love that for her, though. We appreciate
love
a
that
queen
for
who's
her.
like,
True.
yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want this
Yeah.
on my shoulders. Percy, good luck. Bye.
Good, it's
Next
you now.
Next chapter's Percy's like, man, I don't know if I want it to be me, and then he realizes Nico is the son of Hades. Like, no, it's about me.
It's gotta be
I'm-
about me.
If it's not about me, I'm making it about me. It's fucking my prophecy.
The Titan's Curse is about Percy learning to take responsibility,
Yes.
Yeah.
which
for
I do
sure.
love to see it, especially because a lot of the book is him just making series of bad decisions. Not about the Titan's Curse, it's all Hunters of Artemis.
Yes.
So yeah, I've got the pledge that they have to swear. I have it in the notes, and it's very brief, which I like. I like that it's not like a whole rigmarole. Making this decision doesn't have to be like this massive 6 months of trials, battle, like combat, prove your worth. It's just if you think this is the right path for you, then it is.
Yeah.
And I dig that.
Oh, yeah.
But the pledge is, I pledge myself to the goddess Artemis. I turn my back on the company of men, accept eternal maidenhood, and join the hunt. And now there's like one piece of this pledge that I don't vibe with. Fran, you want to guess what it is?
Oh, wait, hold on. I don't know now. Now that you said it, I'm like, there's a lot that I would disagree with. I'm going to go with the company of men.
Yes. And for me, not to say that they should be allowed to still have romantic relationships. I don't like it in the fact that I feel like my biggest problem with the Hunters of Artemis, let's just do it right now, let's go for it, is the fact that it is so focused
Clicky?
on is the fact that it's so focused on the no dudes allowed thing being the most important defining characteristic of this group.
Yeah. That was...
Yeah.
That was a choice. I've never been a fan of that, which is kind of why I do like that Rick kind of, not retconned it, but at least changed it somewhat to be turning your back on... expanded in the sense that it's turning back on romantic relationships and romantic endeavors and stuff like that, because I feel like...
Yeah, it's...
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
Sorry, no, you're fine. I mean, like you said, like, I do enjoy that, like, it expanded to, like, no romantic relationships, even if it's with another girl.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said earlier, it also includes trans girls, as we see with Joe.
So let's talk about that.
Joe was I reading it wrong, or was I the only one who picked up on that?
You and I have the same interpretation where we read Dro as being trans.
Yeah.
I was looking at her wiki. Canonically, is a cis woman, is not trans.
Really?
I know, right?
Because that would have been like Joe, who infiltrated essentially Al Capone, or like whoever the fuck during the 40s. Yeah, infiltrated Al Capone. And like, I read that, I'm like, this is fucking Al Capone we're talking about. In the 40s. I doubt he would have had like wouldn't have had like background checks on his men and like know that they're gender, right? And so I'm like, oh yeah, sex. And so it's like, I was like, oh yeah, it's a dude. And then like the guy's like, I don't feel like a dude anymore. So she became a girl,
not like and
joined the Hunters. And that would have been like, that made way more sense to me than like a girl infiltrates Al Capone. And I don't know.
I know, I was reading it like, is this a Mulan situation, or is it a trans girl who did not have the resources to be able to come out until the Hunters of Artemis come upon her? Because she's also a demigod.
Oh yeah, child of Hephaestus, wasn't she?
Oh yeah.
I don't...
Because I feel like that's why her and Leo bonded, wasn't it?
No, her and Leo bonded just solely because she was a mechanic.
Yeah, well, I assumed because of mechanic it was because it was Hephaestus, but I may be wrong.
Hecate.
Oh,
she's a daughter of Hecate.
Okay.
Oh, which makes sense as to why she was teaching magic to Calypso in John Smartt. Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in my head when I was reading it, you have this trans girl who is assigned male at birth, having to live in the 1920s, running with Al Capone, and just obviously doesn't ever feel comfortable, but doesn't have the language or the resources to be able to like transition and come out, and then somehow runs into the Hunters of Artemis, and Artemis recognizes that this is a trans girl. She just, because she's Artemis, she knows Maiden, she can tell. She would see Joe and be like, Maiden, join us. This is not your place. And just, I like that. That's not canonically what happens, but that's what my headcanon is.
That's a good headcanon.
Yeah, reading it, that's how I picked up, and I'm like, oh yeah, Joe's trans in this. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I understand why it wouldn't be like a thing that would be said outright, because it's not.
Trans
people don't owe you having to say that. Yeah. By the way, I'm also trans. Like, no.
Yeah.
That wouldn't actually be how that plays out.
For me, a good written queer character would be one that doesn't have to outright say that they're queer in any way, shape, or form.
Simultaneously, queer folks often just like to be like, fuck you, I'm ace. Speaking from personal experience.
That's also good. Yeah, that's also
it can go anyway for Joe. So yeah,
like that Smellerbee situation. Like, there's a headcanon for Smellerbee and like Avatar being a trans girl, and that whole scene with Ira saying Smellerbee. That's an interesting name for a boy. It's like, it's because I'm not a boy. I'm a girl. And she storms off and has this whole moment with like Longshot and stuff. And there's like, what led to a headcanon that Smellerbee is actually a trans girl, based on the quote that comes after of, no one has the right to make me feel different. As long as I know who I am, that's all that matters. And it came from that. So I like the headcanon and just the idea, because it would make sense logically that Artemis would accept trans and non-binary people into the hunt. Like, and also this is the thing that I always have about the Hunters. Why is everyone under the age of like 16?
It's because most of the time that's when they're virgins.
And that's a thing.
It's
and
creepy.
I hate that.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
But like, that is genuinely like, oh, you got to be a maiden and not have been like with a man, essentially. And so
okay, there's no way that Zoe Nightshade did not have sex with Hercules.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You don't know that?
I would.
It's
see,
Hercules.
like,
He was
one-
fucking
yeah, it's
anybody
Hercules.
who thought he was handsome. Like, you know, he's like this younger girl who's gonna help him, and she's mad because she's super into him. He would 100% be like, "Oh yeah, this is someone I could have sex with very easily." Sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And
I have no idea.
just adding into the fact that Artemis themselves is like a goddess of childbirth, I believe it is, or it's like child rearing or something like
Yes.
that. She helps women through birth.
Mm-hmm.
She'd accept them in if they're kind of like, wow, don't want to do that again. Or like something bad happens within pregnancy, something like that. I could see her accepting them into the hunt.
I don't know. It's just like, yeah, when you say maiden, it's just what my mind goes to.
Yeah.
No, and that's totally fair because you have this concept of me. We need to talk about the mythology thing first.
Yeah,
Hold
sorry,
on, wait.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, don't be
It's
sorry. This is
mythology.
great. I'm trying to figure out because this is great, but I think it's a good conversation where we can build off of where this idea of the hunters has come from, and I think once we have that, this conversation will be so much better when we can pull from that and talk about.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, where did it come from? Here we are now. What do these stories mean to us? So, big thing about okay, Hunters of Artemis. It's Percy Jackson books. These pull from Greek mythology. The first question is, were there actually Hunters of Artemis in Greek mythology? And what I found is, kinda,
Kinda.
a little bit. As I understand it, there was not a structured group around Artemis. There were she had temples, right? She had worshippers and stuff, all the gods. There were different festivals for her. Some festivals in certain areas, you would have young girls who would basically act as she bears, little bears for a certain amount of time, because there was a story about how Artemis she sent a bear to destroy the city or something because they had offended her, and so this was their offering to Artemis to appease her. This episode is not about Artemis though.
No, we'll get to that.
But there are a lot of myths that when she's described as being with her attendants or her handmaidens, which personally I would define that as being very, very different than her being with hunters, because that kind of just language does not imply that these women who followed Artemis functioned in the same manner that we understand the hunters function in the Percy Jackson books. I went through and digging through the different stories about characters who were close to Artemis or were associated with Artemis in the way. These are the ones that I found basically were the most we would define as a hunter of Artemis. And there's 3 of them. I'm just gonna hit a couple points because they all kind of end the same way, which I think is telling. So we have Callisto, who was described as one of her, again, hunting attendants.
Yes.
She was a follower of Artemis. At some point in time, she becomes pregnant by Zeus. Stories vary on the details of what led to this pregnancy.
As they generally do.
As they generally do. Sometimes it was consensual. Sometimes it was very not. Sometimes it was deceit. Sometimes it's this or whatever. Sometimes she thinks it was Artemis because he was disguised as Artemis. Sometimes Callisto, no, it wasn't Artemis, but it's a whole thing. But it all ends the same way. Once her pregnancy is found out, Artemis banishes her. Kicks her out of the hunt. And then at some point in time, Callisto becomes a bear and then is killed and becomes a constellation. And the details of how that all happens.
Ursa Major
vary.
or Ursa Minor? Oh, there you go.
She's Ursa Major.
And I think her
she's the
child
mother
is
bear.
then Ursa Minor, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got Polyphonte, who, DJ, you and I actually covered in the Sea of Monsters bonus myth roundup episode
Believe it.
over on Patreon. Because she was the mother of Argyus and Aureus, the bear dudes from the second book. And her whole thing is she fled to the forest because she wanted to remain a virgin and didn't want to fulfill these societal expectations of women. And Aphrodite took this personally. So Aphrodite curses Polyphonte to fall in love with a bear. Polyphonte gets pregnant by the bear. Artemis finds this extremely offensive and sends wild animals to chase this woman back, and she has to rejoin her father. Then other stuff happens to her. And again,
Yeah, gods aren't great
that sucks.
people.
Yeah.
No. Then I've got 2 other women that I could find that were a little bit better off, all things considered. Not great, but better off. A Nereid, an ocean nymph named Arethusa. That's probably not the way that's not the right inflection. I'm going to move past it. Basically, she, leaves the sea and also becomes one of Artemis's attendants. Again, underlying the attendant element. A river god ends up targeting her, and to protect her, Artemis saves her by turning her into a cloud, and then later a spring that feeds into one of Artemis's temples. Which, that's a great way of saving her. We could have maybe done something to the river god. He's not an Olympian, but sure.
Still a god.
Yeah, but he's still a god.
You can't just kill a god, boy. Sorry, that's God of War. I'm very excited for that. It's coming out on PC.
What is?
So in God of War 2018, this son kills a Norse god. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's the son has heard stories of his dad, right? It's why don't you just kill him? He's being a dick. And Kratos you can't just kill a god, boy. And then I've seen a bunch of compilations where it's just him killing all the Greek gods to Mr. Blue Sky.
It's Kratos, do you know what game franchise you're from?
I mean, it's
did you get void fished? What are you talking about?
The whole point of the 2018 games is to show that he's reflected and he regrets his actions that he took in the first 3 God of War games.
That's reasonable because I understand things are pretty rough over there.
He was tricked into killing his family, which is why he's all white, because it's the ashes of his family that's stained his skin. And so then, he was tricked by Ares, and then he goes on this full-blown rampage to kill all the gods.
You know what? Fair.
So, I don't blame
You know what? That's
him.
actually fair. No, I totally,
I
super see that. Yeah, I think some demigods maybe should take a page from that book, to be perfectly honest.
So the 2018 games, as far as I'm aware, is him moving past his past actions and self-reflecting and becoming better. But then the Norse gods start fucking with him, and he's like, all right, fine. They start some shit with him.
I do like to see characters grow from their past mistakes and learn to be better people. And also still take no shit.
Yeah, that's great. Kratos is very good. I'm very excited to play it.
I've got one more, who is another character we've actually covered, DJ.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's Iphigenia. You may recall she is the daughter of Agamemnon.
Vaguely.
You may recall that the reason Agamemnon's wife murders him is because he sacrificed his daughter to Artemis in order to ensure smooth sailing to get to the Trojan War.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember that now.
Mm-hmm. There are some versions of the myth where Artemis actually shows up and rescues Iphigenia. And she either makes her a priestess at one of Artemis's temples, or she becomes her, quote, immortal companion.
Ooh.
Which is interesting because in the Hunters of Artemis, we noticed that, immortality is, baseline. If you join, you get that. All of these girls, all the hunters are immortal. That's not really something that came up a lot with any of the characters who were, or the figures of myth who were said to have, joined Artemis for however long. Though considering the fact that they all die.
Yeah.
They all die in different ways, and they all die in
creative ways.
Combat.
Yeah, this is true. So maybe they all were immortal, but never really weren't there long enough to really revel in what that means.
Yeah. I was just saying, DJ, you just made a really interesting point about the falling in battle situation. Can Hunters of Artemis in Percy Jackson actually die if they're not killed in battle?
I think the way that I always interpret it, right, is they die from unnatural causes. Because, falling in battle, one might assume, one could argue, an assassination's not a battle. So somebody could sneak up behind them and stab their throat, but then they'd still be fine because it really wasn't a battle.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that's what
falling in battle is just
Yeah, but then it's if they're in battle and they get a wound, but they live from the wound, but the wound gets infected, can that happen to them?
That's interesting because can they get sick?
I think I'm pretty sure that they said that they won't get sick and die, right? But that wound was inflicted in battle, but the infection happened out of the battle.
So interesting.
That's actually a really good point.
So they wouldn't have succumbed to the wound, but they might have and I'm not saying that Artemis is some shabby healer that wouldn't have been able to heal the infection before it happened, right? I'm just saying, what if?
Yeah. What if one of the hunters got injured? What if let's say Bianca gets injured, but Artemis isn't around to heal her from the. Oh, yeah, this is a bad example. I realize.
Technically, she just fall in battle, so it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
a hunter gets like stabbed in like the arm, right? Not
Or
lethal.
crushed by a giant robot.
Well, we're just gonna be like not lethal in the arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one could argue that giant robot, that was the battle. She was battling the insides of that giant robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think you're right, DJ. The whole like the phrase of like falling in battle isn't, because if someone, let's say a hunter killed another hunter, like they just were angry and came in and like stabbed them to death. That's not a battle.
That's not really a
Not to say
battle.
that would happen, but like just finding a moment where you wouldn't be like, I think they can die by like physical injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't age.
Yeah.
Or they don't get sick either. That is something that I do like at least vaguely remember, that they don't get like colds or the plague or just shit like that, right?
Yeah.
I think Zoe like describes that.
Yeah. This is the whole thing. So I love Percy Jackson, but its magic system is not it.
It's wonk.
Yeah.
It's wonk. But it's like
not
every time he releases a new series, it's always just wonk, dude.
Yeah.
It's
The
great.
only one that is good is Kane Chronicles. Kane Chronicles has a pretty solid,
Is it? I believe it.
solid magic system.
The one
That's 'cause it's
only one
like-
DJ hasn't done.
Yeah. Egypt also just has like better magic in its myths than like most
Yeah.
other myths, in my opinion.
A little bit more defined.
Unless we start getting to like, Celt and I guess maybe Norse, but not really. Norse is like rune magic, and rune magic is confusing as all fucking get out.
Oh yeah. I've got a friend who's writing something to do with Norse mythology with runes, and it's a lot of research. Yeah.
But
It's just something
it's,
that popped into my mind based on like the wording that they give about how they can die. Basically, the terms and conditions to being a hunter is not great.
It's super vague, but also way too like constricting,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like what is the vagueness useful for? But if I can't like do other things, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, the only thing is like it says if they fall in battle, they are indeed. Artemis says once they swear loyalty to me, they are indeed immortal. ... Unless they fall in battle, which is unlikely.
Yeah. But then happens to be like every
What
that happens.
unlikely, and then we see
Yeah.
two happen within
Literally,
Yeah.
within the
in
next
the
week.
book.
Yeah.
In her defense, she's not around to keep it from happening.
She was around to keep Zoe Nightshade from dying.
Zoe Nightshade had already. Oh, Zoe Nightshade dies because she's poisoned.
Oh yeah, stabbed multiple times.
She was poisoned. She was
Yeah.
poisoned.
Thrown into rocks.
She gets
But
poisoned
that's
by
not.
the dragon.
I thought she got poisoned by Atlas's blade.
I thought she got no, because when she shows up, she's like hiding the fact that the dragon hurt her.
Yeah, so she was hurt by the dragon, and then is hurt
Yeah.
by her father because she's like thrown into a rock face or something. So basically, probably breaks
Yeah,
all
he
the bones
throws
in her
her.
body. So like multiple things with
Oh, I think-
that and then that. So they
I think the
then
combination.
combined sort
But
of.
then that goes to show that Artemis couldn't heal that poisoning.
It was because it was too. I think at that point she was already dying, and
Yeah.
you can save. I think you can. Like Greek mythology is like the thing is like if someone's like mortally wounded but they're able to be healed, it's fine. But if they are already dying, if she pulled Zoe back, then I think it would have caused drama with like Hades would have been pissed, and she can't go to the Olympians and try to be like, hey, we need to deal with this Titan problem if Hades is on principle going to be like, you just broke one of my biggest rules. I'm not going to vote with you for anything.
Yeah. So it ends up somewhat
I mean-
political.
So there are dudes who ran around with Artemis and actually legitimately hunted. Like,
Yeah. And did a good job, except one, kinda.
Orion?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Orion?
Yeah.
Talk about Orion. Well, there's a couple dudes.
There's
Yeah,
a couple
I know, I
dudes.
bet
There are
that there are a
three.
couple
There are
dudes.
three. One in particular.
The only one that I know is Orion because he shows up later.
Yeah, and they ruined his story. I'm really pissed about
I
that.
don't like
It's not great.
that.
No,
I
it's
don't
definitely
like-
not.
No.
He's a spiteful ex. Sure.
Yeah, and weird. It's because of the rigidity nature of Artemis must be anti-dude, no dude ever, that we get this version of Orion rather than, I think, the more interesting one, which was, here was her best friend,
Yeah.
who she killed by accident. And now he's spiteful because of that and will not forgive her because
Yeah.
she was reckless with her power.
Although,
Yeah.
And I think that's more interesting.
Yeah. and even in this case, like this one here of like there's one about Apollo slaying him as well, which is a version because he didn't like
I
the
would
fact that
absolutely
Artemis
believe
had a
if he
male
was, like,
friend.
creeping
That was like his only
Yeah.
reason. It was like, I don't like that you're
I
friends
feel
with a
like if we
man.
were
Yeah.
like maybe in like mythology, but like if Rick were to do that take on it, it really would have been more like, oh, this guy's creeping on my sister. I need to fucking off him before he does anything that he's gonna regret.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like she's literally a goddess who has destroyed people who have tried to pull that shit on her, and so Artemis doesn't need anybody to protect her.
Yeah, so
and Orion's a giant, though.
Is he a giant? Like mythologically a giant, or is he just giant as in what a tall guy?
I'm pretty sure he's mythologically like one of the giants, which is why he was hired by Gia.
He's somewhat of one. I was looking at it up a second ago.
He was made to counter Apollo and Artemis, but because Artemis liked to go her own way, so did he, which is why we also got the counter to Ares. I don't remember his name, but I love him to death. He was not a war-seeking, he was more of a lover, not a fighter, because he was supposed to be the counter to hate Ares.
We're gonna have a lot of fun doing these giants one day. Like I am
so
excited
for the giants.
Okay, so just say he is a giant huntsman.
I don't even know the original myths. I just think they're cool as fuck.
Yeah. Fran.
So I was just looking. So it does say that he is a giant huntsman, but it doesn't say anything about him opposing anyone. Hold on. Let me check.
I've never heard of like the giant war, and I don't know if that's something that Rick just came up with later, but because like nothing.
So the giant war definitely was a thing.
It was a thing.
He was one of the giant sons. Oh no, that's no. Hold on, I take that back because that's talking about pop culture. That's referencing Rick Riordan. This is the one where it's saying he's a child of the goddess in Rick Riordan's Blood of Olympus, but nowhere else does it say it. So it was a Rick Riordan creation to create drama for reasons unknown, and it was.
I mean, it
needed a giant to oppose Artemis, most likely.
It
and
makes
be like
sense.
tried and true, like, oh shit, this guy's a fucking problem since he's actually really good at killing the Hunters of Artemis.
Yeah, it makes sense in the terms of the story that the Riordan books are telling.
Yeah.
That works. I just don't love it.
Yeah.
Not what this episode is about, though.
No.
Let's talk about the...
We were getting onto the dudes of Artemis.
We're circling back to the dudes.
Yeah.
The dudes of Artemis.
The dudes of Artemis.
I feel like if Apollo had his own group of dudes, it would just be the dudes or the bros or the dude bros of Apollo.
The dude bros of
Apollo. Yeah, they're just called his boyfriends. So
they actually are just his boyfriends. You're absolutely right, Fran. Thank you. So, and these were not Artemis's boyfriends. No. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. The one I love the most.
Fran,
Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, please go. I was gonna. Yeah.
I was just say the one I love the most is Hippolytus because he was so valid. Like he was just like, you know what, I'm a hunter. I'm a sports person. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to have any form of marriage. I'm good. Mm-hmm. And Aphrodite, being the petty ass that she usually is like,
being
I don't like this. Yeah, being Aphrodite.
She took that personally.
And I
took that you don't personally. Want love? The greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Oh god, it's sad because like he's basically, his stepmother is cursed to fall in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
He rejects her because he's like, love, I'm good, thanks, bye.
like romance, no thank you.
Yeah, swears himself to Artemis and all these sort of things, and basically worships Artemis because of what she represents. His stepmother so there's two different ones. So she kills herself in one of them, or tells her husband, so his dad, that he attacked her, which leads to him dying. So basically, in either version, he ends up dying because Poseidon gets involved and like his horses pull him off a cliff, and he dies. It's either trampled by horses in one of them, or he falls off a cliff because his horses throw him off a cliff, and he dies. In every one.
Rough.
All because he was like, Artemis, that's my bitch. Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I kind of vibed with was this dude, Daphnis, who was like a son of Hermes, who had been taught how to play panpipes by Pan himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a follower of Artemis and just joining her on her hunts and like playing sweet, sweet jams on the panpipe or doing like pastoral poetry, which I guess he's credited with inventing. I don't actually know what pastoral poetry is, but
no, me neither.
This guy invented it. Now, he falls in love with a naiad, but actually hooks up with a princess, possibly after having way too many drinks at a party and wasn't completely, like, consensual as to what happened that evening. But the naiad, who's now pissed, either blinds him or turns him to stone. Sources vary. And that sucks for him. I did find this interesting because he, despite like being a follower of Artemis, like he hunted with her, he was like pledged to her, he was not expected to take that vow of chastity. Like his virginity, that idea was like not a concern because he was a dude. This kind of expectation was not put upon him in the same way it was put upon Polyphante or oh my god, what was the other one?
Callisto?
Or Calestro.
Oh,
yeah.
Calestro. I said Callisto.
Callisto, which it sounds better, but yeah. And I just like, I wanted to note that because
it's interesting.
I think
Greek.
Because as you said, DJ, yeah, it's Greek, and after covering all these myths, I think the thing that I would like to underline as we go on with this conversation regarding like our idea of the Hunters of Artemis in pop culture now is that there was not a place for women to step outside the bounds of what was expected of them in society in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Like Artemis, even though she was literally like, I get to be a maiden and I get to be a hunter and I get to do these things that women aren't allowed to do, she was not meant to be a archetype for actual women to be able to follow. Even if you like you pledge yourself to Artemis, you were still expected to, as a woman, to follow the rules of society had laid out for you. And so I think that's why you see a lot of myths where they are described as her like attendants, or they served the goddess, and it's only like these men that we talked about that actually got to hunt with the goddess.
And
which I do think like the pop culture is a little better.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
I'd say like for all the stuff I don't love with how the Hunters of Artemis are portrayed in the books, I will give it to Rick in writing this character and creating this in 2007 did a lot more for this idea of like what would it mean to get to follow Artemis, who would be the followers of Artemis, and what would that look like for young women, and actually in these books creating a place where young women get to step outside the pressures and stuff and then the expectations and all these like heavy burdens that society has always put upon everybody, but like women are often like they suffer a lot under it. And I reminded how like he was like a middle school teacher and probably saw girls his age having to do with this kind of shit a lot.
Oh yeah.
And so, not saying that Hunters of Artemis is like this perfect female empowerment girls club, but I do like that it is more than what the mythology originally offered.
Oh yeah.
Which is like I like to talk about, like, because now we view that giving a place for women, but like any sort of like group to find where they can feel like they belong and step outside of the pressures of society. We view that as important now, whereas it wasn't considered important in the past.
Yeah.
Hey, do we want to talk about Hunters of Artemis in pop culture?
Yes.
This is
You had way more
I
examples.
don't
I could not think of any, and I think that says a lot. That I couldn't think
well,
of that
because
many.
yeah, no, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I had less than I thought I would come up with, to be honest, because I would say like we don't really have like even things when Artemis herself appears, rarely does she have like hunters with her. Likely because, as we talked about, like that isn't a thing from classical mythology.
Yeah.
She didn't have like this band of like hunter girls with her. So I kind of expanded it more to be like, what is the idea of the Hunters of Artemis? Like, how do we recognize it now? And so what I have is just basically groups that like empower women and non-binary folks, gender non-conforming folks that specifically don't operate under the power of a man or serve the male gaze. So yes, the Black Widows are badass. No, they do not count. Or Charlie's Angels.
No.
Or the girls from Sucker Punch.
Yeah. Except the new
They're not
Charlie's
on this
Angels,
list.
by the way. The new Charlie's Angels, I think, would. But no one likes that film because they're uncultured.
I didn't see it.
Lots of people hated
Not
it.
for any
It's the one with
particular
Kristen
reasons.
Stewart and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I just didn't see it. It came out like around pandemic, right?
Yeah, it was literally kind of like 2 months before the pandemic started, like end of 2019, early 2020.
Yeah.
Same with Birds of Prey.
Fuck, Birds of Prey. Hey, you know what's on this list? Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey. DC Birds of Prey movie is on this list.
Nice.
I will fight anyone who says that was a bad movie. That was an incredible
So
fucking
good. Best DC
Yes,
movie.
okay. just I agree with that. Like it down. Go on, DJ.
Its action scenes were directed by the same guy who did John Wick.
It's because they look so good. They all look so good, and not a single time or any of these action sequences, just like the cameras panning around their bodies to show how sexy they look while fighting. They still look gorgeous, and like they will break your teeth in. There's a scene where Harley Quinn is in like a white t-shirt and she's soaking wet, and it doesn't look like she's in a white t-shirt contest. Like she's not wet to be like, oh, look how sexy she is and how it clings to her body, and you can see her sports bra through it. It's wet so she can slide on the water, and the water goes up and it looks cool.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey is a good movie. Damn it!
Good. I'm looking forward to the next one that they do.
I hope they do another one. I think it's great.
I'm looking forward to playing the Suicide Squad game that's coming out.
Oh yeah, they're doing a Suicide Squad game.
Yeah, I saw it the other day. I'm like, it's in the same universe as Batman Arkham series, and I assume it's when they kill Batman, because there's a game coming out called Gotham Knights that Batman's fucking dead, and the whole mission for the Suicide Squad game is to kill the Justice League.
Love it.
I love video games. They're all so wacky.
Super excited for it.
So Birds of Prey is on my list. They're at the bottom of my list because I thought of it last, and it's like a little bit less counts because they're not quite as like an organized uniform group. Yeah. But I couldn't not because I got really excited when I thought of them.
Yeah, I saw your other one of the Kyoshi Warriors, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, I would say the Kyoshi Warriors are like the most like in definition of like, yes, they're not like immortal and stuff. They don't get their powers like magic, like supernaturally. They train for this, but like being a group of like competent warrior women, empowered, but specifically following the example of like this legendary mythological woman.
Yes.
Like,
who is a badass queer woman as well. A badass queer woman.
Oh, God,
who lived for 230 years because she refused to die.
Just straight up refused to die. And I know, like, I've seen, I haven't read the Kyoshi books yet. I want to, but I've seen, like, a cute comic where, like, the Airbender who came before her, who's, like, her advisor, is like, hey, Kyoshi, you need to continue the Avatar cycle. Please don't do this thing you're doing.
Kyoshi,
this is
die.
not...
Kyoshi, I need you to die.
We not, like, right now, but I need you to let yourself age, at least. And she's like...
We need you to fucking... There's a balance that the world needs to go in, and you're throwing it out.
You're really throwing it off. She's like, I will make another island.
We love it. And Suki as well. Suki being the leader of the current Kyoshi Warriors as well.
Suki was great.
So good. So good. And I also, like, I appreciate how in that one it's like, they're not like, ooh, no boys allowed, anti-boys, because they're just, like, gross. It's like, no, this is for us because it is for women, not because of men in general. It is us. It is about us. It's not about excluding you. It is about us.
And they do allow a guy in for Sokka because...
And they do let Sokka.
Yeah, Sokka
when he's like serious about it.
Yeah, when he becomes an honorary member for it, because he recognizes, like, he does this whole thing of like realizing, hey, I was a dick. Say
it's honorary. Like,
yeah, they give him the whole garb. Yeah,
genuinely trains up with it, and like that's super cool. I actually saw a post where it's like, yeah, sure, Aang knows how to like bend all elements. Sokka knows how to fight in every martial style from every fucking tribe.
He does, and I do love that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's a really cool balance, like just a thing. It's like, oh, he can't bend. He's useless. No, dude knows how to like use every like physical style that there is. Can Aang do that? Aang could probably still body him, but that's not the point here.
But yeah, it's good. And it's also like, yeah, it's if you are willing to humble yourself to the fact that you don't know everything and this group has something to teach you, they're willing to let you in.
Yes. And I do love that.
Yeah, that one is a fun one. I also put down the Sailor Scouts from Sailor Moon because that felt right to me. It's not the same. It just felt right to me. You know, there's a group of girls. They got superpowers. They're a tight-knit, like, they're a group. They're going to save the world. They follow the goddess of the moon, basically.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Did not even
Princess Serenity is like, she's goddess of the, she's princess of the moon, but still, they have magic.
There is actually a Sea of Serenity on the moon.
Yeah.
The creator's name, Sea of Serenity.
Yeah, that's why she's Princess Serenity, yeah. She's also like Usagi. In she's often represented as like a cute little bunny in like the anime like chibi style, and it's because in Japan it's not the folklore isn't the man on the moon, it's the rabbit on the moon, because the shape of like the dark parts of the moon kind of looks like a rabbit. So Usagi is the rabbit of the moon.
Might also like transit over the Chinese myth because I know Shang-A represents the moon and has a rabbit.
Yeah, it looks like a bunny.
Helper. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of myths
Also,
that tie them into moons. Sorry.
No, yeah.
I was just remembering one because there's a book series that I read which was the Gumiho series by Kat Cho, and Gumihos are like fox spirit women in Korean mythology. And in this case, I don't know if it's the same for the actual mythology, but in the books themselves, the Gumiho character, every full moon is when the hunger for like male souls is at its highest. And like the character in that is like, she doesn't like killing people, but she'll kill bad people to have their souls. So she hunts them, she like figures out who they are, she has like a psychic helping her out to figure out her targets, and it's like she tells them, it's like, this is what you deserve because I know what you've done. Sucks out their soul.
That's very good, and that's a vibe. I can get on board with that. That's a mood.
Now, would it like a society of like a matriarchal society be what we're talking about here, like a group of women that doesn't appease the male gaze or anything?
Who are you thinking, DJ?
I'm thinking because I'm actually playing through Horizon Zero Dawn right now.
Okay.
Main character's name is Aloy, and she's really dope. And there's a society, like the main society, the Nora tribe that is in it, is a matriarchal society.
That could probably work. Maybe.
Interesting. Cause I definitely, because because I was trying to figure that out. Right. There's a difference between the Hunters of Artemis and the Amazons.
Yeah.
But the Amazons, at least the way Rick wrote them, seem to just like be genuine men hating, but also like men using a group of women.
Okay, it's like Newman. It's like the webcomic Newman.
Okay, but like I mean, like maybe, right?
This is a reference that I'm using only for DJ Fran.
Only for
you
me
don't have,
and
it's okay.
people who have read Newman. It is the Drow society is a matriarchal society that has men who enjoy being slaves. And sure, those men enjoy being slaves, but it seemed like the women hated the men. The Drow didn't hate their men.
No, they do. They're like, don't fuck around. That's my boy.
They very much love
more
their
sort
men.
Of, I don't know if I can talk about this. I guess that sounds more like a BDSM, like dom.
It is. It absolutely
yes,
is.
that's exactly what it is.
That's how
yep,
they just,
yep,
like,
yep.
Whereas the
Amazons,
Amazons,
it's got the whole leather and everything.
Yeah, whereas the Amazons and Rick, Amazons and Rick,
the Amazon,
not as
I'm
much.
gonna be real with you. This might be a little bad. I know that it seemed a little Stockholm syndrome to me with the Amazons.
No, I don't like the Amazons in the Rick Riordan version.
It's not good.
We can't get into this right now, gang. I can't do it. I got too many feelings.
I
gotta focus on my hunter feelings.
The original Amazons in mythology would count for this, I would say, because they didn't really, they didn't like hate men. They just didn't particularly want them on their island, except occasionally where they'd be like, "Hey, we kind of want kids now, so bring some over.
Yeah, we need kids.
Fun times.
Yeah,
fuck off." So like it was just like once a year, just let them come over, have some fun, have some dinner. Next morning,
we throw a big party.
Yeah, basically a literal one night
party.
stand sort of situation. Like if you're not gone by the morning, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, you need to leave before sunrise.
Yeah.
Actually,
okay.
In OnePiece.
Oh, of course, we've got OnePiece to the podcast.
There is an island of just women. I think it's like the Kuba or something like that. Kura, I think it is. It is an island in a part of the sea that's got like no winds and no tides, so like most ships cannot make it through, and so they are secluded. And the way that these people judge beauty on this island is how strong these women are.
I vibe with that. I do like that.
It's a lot of fun, and it's like, I mean, their leader again is like Boa Hancock. Really their leader is Boa Hancock.
Is that what Boa Hancock comes from?
Yeah, that's where Boa Hancock comes from.
Okay.
And yes, again, she's like revered for her beauty, but again, she doesn't like men except for Luffy, solely because Luffy doesn't like her like in a sexual way. Luffy is super ace in this.
I thought no, he's Luffy. Ace is Ace.
You know what I'm talking about.
Fran, what you have a thought? I can see on your
You
face.
have a thought.
I've been looking at my bookshelf trying to see. It's like, can I think of any of these that have female-dominated groups? And I saw one. Literally, it was hidden behind all of my face masks. It's
COVID.
It is
Strikes again.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh my god. It is the Galleghar Girls series. It is a school for girl spies. It is a group.
Girl
girls.
spies. We love girl
Head
spies.
teacher is a woman. Everything is about training these girls to be incredible spies. Yes, there are men in it. They are cool, so it's fine. But the main group.
It's fine.
But the main group are these 4, occasionally 5 girls, the mum, and their teachers, which are predominantly female as well. And it's all about them, self-empowerment, and overcoming terrible people, and doing amazingly well with it.
I dig that.
The Galleghar Girls.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think one thing that when we're trying to figure out like what makes a group like what we would call like a pop culture Hunters of Artemis compared to like a little bit more Amazonian, and for me I think it is that the role of the group is solely about women building up other women or non-binary folks or just anyone who doesn't identify, who is not man. Whereas other groups you'll see like, oh, this is the matriarchal society, but their whole thing is they want to oppress men in the same way men have historically oppressed women. And I don't feel like that is the same as like female empowerment because it's still circling like men in the narrative.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the Hunters of Artemis is about women building each other up, or the Kyoshi warriors. Like, yeah, they let Sokka in. It's not about dudes are weak and pathetic and they can't be trusted to have this power.
Dude, bad.
It's about women and following the tradition of Kyoshi.
Yeah. It's like they're following the correct feminist opinion that everyone should be equal and on equal footing and feel empowered and not have one above
whatever
the
that
others.
means.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Lumberjanes because it's one of my favorite comic book series, and that's what I definitely put down as an idea of the Hunters of Artemis, in part because Artemis herself is actually in the series. The Lumberjanes is I want to find the full name of the Lumberjanes camp. So it is it's a comic book series by Boom Studios, and it is a boombox, and it is about just this like all girls essentially camp, and it's just a summer camp in this wild, weird, cryptic woods, and you've got this group of campers, and it's just like the strange supernatural phenomenon they encounter. But the camp is called, I've never actually said it out loud, Miss Quinzella, Thiswicks, Pimquickle, Thistle, Crumpets, Camp for Hardcore Lady Types. And they are the Lumberjane Scouts. And Artemis is in the first arc. You find out Artemis, she's at this camp, and then her brother Apollo's at the all-boys camp across the lake, a traditional like Boy Scout type camp. And they are at odds with each other. Mm-hmm. And it is the Lumberjanes being like, you aren't allowed to bring your sibling Olympian drama and fuck around here. Like, you got to get along or you got to get out. And eventually Diana, her punishment for starting this drama is she has to just be a camper at the camp. And that's very cute. And I'll definitely get into that when we do our Artemis episode next time. But what I like with the Lumberjanes is, yes, it's for like hardcore lady types, right? It is like a girls' camp and stuff. But we know that it is one of the campers from like the boys' camp, Barry. They befriend April, one of the main characters, and they don't feel comfortable at the boys' camp. They don't really like being there. And so they ask can I join the Lumberjanes camp? They ask the head counselors, and I don't know, this is very unorthodox. I know we usually don't allow these things. Yeah, it's really against tradition to let a camper join halfway through the season. But yeah, of course you can come in. Nice. Like, it has nothing to do with Barry being like assigned male, and we learn later that Barry is non-binary. They come out and identify as like they them, and they have like a little bit of tension with Joe, one of the other main character campers. And eventually you find out it's like Joe's kind of like a little bit harsher with Barry, and you find out later she admits that it's because Barry reminded them a lot of her when she was younger and like didn't fit in, and because Joe is trans, and it was like she didn't like being around this person who reminded her of a version of herself that was so unhappy.
Uh-huh.
So what I like with Lumberjanes is that it is that group where everyone gets to be a part of it, and everyone can come together. If you feel at home here, then it is your home here. And that's the part of, I think, about getting into like what I identify with in like the Hunters of Artemis, because there are things I don't vibe with it, but there's a reason that I still, like, as an adult at the beginning of the podcast, say that I'm on loan from the Hunters of Artemis. And it's because I really, really love this idea of a place where you feel like you belong, so you do, and this is a place for you, and you have a group of people who are going to look out for you. And also, I like the idea of being able to do sweet flips with a bow and arrow.
Yes.
Understandable.
As you should.
Fran,
oh, sorry.
thank you. So the big, no, sorry, thank you. But the big reason I wanted you on the podcast is because I wanted to talk and have someone else talk about, like, why do you vibe with the Hunters? Because, like, I know we both, like, have we talked about, like, things we don't like about the way they're portrayed in the books, but we still like this idea of them so much that we would align ourselves with that.
Yeah.
So what is it for you?
I suppose for me it is just this idea of just being part of this group of women and girls who just feel this strength of a bond. Like I've had like female friendship groups like when I was younger, and I'm still friends with a lot of women now, but obviously, especially like being a queer person, like figuring out my queer identity around that time led to conflict within female friendships around that time. Obviously figuring out not actually friends if you're not okay with, you know, a queer woman being friends with other women, not proper friends. But the idea of the Hunters of Artemis, especially when I was like heading to uni, because that's when I first read these books, was kind of like this whole situation of figuring out that, you know, there is a place in a sense where I can comfortably be with a group of women who would accept me into a group. No questions asked. No, oh, you're a queer woman? Oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable about you being in close proximity and all these sort of things. And that's just something I just really vibed with the Hunters, of like, anyone can join if there is potential, and the potential is just being yourself as someone who is female presenting. I just really like that. Like, it's just something I just picked up on. I like that they don't take any of Percy's shit, which is something that I never take in my podcast, which is why most people do not like me in the fandom. And yeah, I just kind of liked, and it's also because I'm in love with like Talia Grace, but like that's a conversation for another day. But it's just something about it, just this idea of a group being so accepting of anyone female presenting and anyone who is not female presenting, and just being accepting of others in this group that is supportive in many ways, being immortal.
And being that sounds bad.
That's the main draw. And even things like when it got to the whole Joe and Emmy situation of like this way station for hunters with the queer mums of the Hunters of Artemis group situation. It just brought a lot of light to my life, just things of that, and I really vibed with it a lot.
It's good. I definitely, as they're adapting these stories for Disney Plus, if, you know, we get to season 3 and we get to have the Hunters of Artemis, I definitely hope that we get a broader definition of like the purpose of the Hunters of Artemis, not as a place that like only exists to just exclude men, but as a place where women and folks who have felt unfulfilled and oppressed under the expectations of their societies can go and just flourish because they have a community that is there to support them beneath the protection of a literal goddess.
Yes.
I'm intrigued to see how much he's going to, because like Rick has a hand in this series, yeah?
Yeah.
I got a pretty heavy hand. How much he is going to stick to the books and how much he's going to divert, and whether, because like maybe he wants to change something small or major. I have no idea, because like we know that he looks back on some of his past stuff and be like, I would change that if I would write them now.
Yeah.
But is he going to do that in this series? Yeah, which is growth, right? But is he going to do that in the series? Who's to say?
I would hope, since you're adapting it, like it's you get to change things. Now you get it does not have to be beat for beat. And so I hope this is a good opportunity through the adaptation to tell the story in a way that it would be told now, not in the way that it was told in 2007.
Yes, 100%, with that modern adaptation of it, of like this idea of, because this is the whole thing, like back then, big groups of women in like who are just all about, you know, women being together was automatically seen as an anti-men group, like 100%, and that is how the Hunters of Artemis are written, like 100%. There is no doubt about it. The first interaction that happens between a hunter and a male character, in this case Percy, is automatic dismissal of him as a person.
Just hostile.
Yeah, incredibly
Yeah.
hostile. And it's just not it. And you can tell straight away that is the 2007 when it was written.
2007.
Yeah, so the 2007 sentimentality of all female groups is they're going to be anti-men. And it's still sentimentality
again,
now, even still. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, you'll still find it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's still like centering this female group around men.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, that's not it.
Yeah.
So I definitely would like to see like the hunter. I could understand why the hunters would be like a little distant towards men, because they pose a possibility of losing their status within the Hunters of Artemis, especially maybe ones who are like attracted towards men and stuff. You could still have attraction and not act on it, and not wanting to find themselves potentially compromised. Not to say that, oh, men are scary, but I could see
It's still just
you
like
don't
the
get to be
temptation.
close to us because you
If
could
the
be.
temptation is on the table, then there's still a chance that you're going to take it no matter
Yeah,
what.
and the
like,
maybe
even if you've trained yourself to be like, no, I don't want to take it, but like it's that
the
temptation
fear
is
of
there.
like
this
you don't want to
nugget-
find yourself in the situation where
This
you
nugget
have
is on the table, and I really want to eat it, but I know I shouldn't because I've eaten fucking too many of them.
Davis has compared men to meat. The podcast is over. We've done it, everybody. This was the goal all along.
Oh my
I ended
god.
up eating it. It was good.
And Davis ate the man meat. So that's the podcast, I think.
I don't get anything else, so
Fran, anything else you wanted to dive into while we've got you, and all of your brilliant, beautiful thoughts and your eloquent wording on just the Hunters of Artemis and what it means to be part of like groups where you actually feel like accepted and supported?
I guess my final thoughts on it is just that everyone deserves to find a place in which they belong, and that feeling of belonging should never be conditional. And I suppose something I hope is improved with the Hunters of Artemis in the adaptation. Rick, I am available for script writing, and
And she's great.
and I think that'd be the case with everything. Like, I feel like there shouldn't be things that are conditional of you need to fit this specific standard to be part of our group, which is something our society does a lot in general for many things. So that's I hope people are able to find something like that, and there are no conditions for who you are as a person.
I love it. It's not going to get much better than that. So let's swing by the big house real quick and let Fran show off her trophies from her various quests. Hey, speaking of being available for script writing, Fran, what is it you do? Where can people find you and more of your quality content?
Yes, so for the small little Percy Jackson related plugs, I have a podcast myself going through the Royal Universe in Timeline Order, which is the best damn camp, damn obviously being the joke of the series spelling. I also have a YouTube channel that dives into theories and discussions called A Healthy Dose of Fran, and I am an author, so if anyone is interested in pre-ordering or looking up any of the things that I'm working on, you can check out my website from cheskamcmahon.com. My first short story, which is a setup for my novel, which the first one is coming out. It is part of a trilogy with multiple short stories between. This short story is called Echoes of the Past, and it is out February 23rd. I'm guessing it'll maybe in the description notes for here if anyone is interested.
Yeah.
But if not, it's on my website either way.
Yeah, I have read Echoes of the Past. It is dazzling. It's super fun. So yeah, go pre-order it. You could do it. It's super easy. Yeah, all of that is going to be right down. Just scroll down to the show notes, y'all. I don't know if you're on Spotify. It's anything. I'm pretty sure just open it, slide to the next page. It's right there. Check it out. Hit those links. Check her out. Follow Fran. She's super fun.
Thank you.
Awesome. And that is it for us. We will be back on Tuesday, February 15th to talk about Artemis herself. But until then, take care and don't be like Zeus.
don't be like Zeus.
Oh god, never.
Podcast of Poseidon is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor, the Crystal Con Man. Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain, and our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Like the show? Ready for more? Support Podcast of Poseidon on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Find out more at patreon.com/podcastofposeidon.
Can't spare the drachmas? You can support the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcast or by sharing us with your friends. Find all of our episodes and episode transcripts at podcastofposeidon.com.
Thanks for listening.